Now I want to get back with you as this process goes along. This took 4.5 years now. I want to get back with you now, not about the blight violation that they claimed I had, not about the signs that I put up that they can't do anything about. But I want to go on now to service of the city manager, some papers that I wrote him several letters, and of course, some of them he answered, some of them he didn't. So I went to on May the 31st, 2016. I went downtown City Hall and went into the City Hall to serve papers because you have a right. You can do your own process survey. You don't have to have a process server. You can do it yourself. And so I waste my money. I went in. I had 3 to 4 different papers. I wanted to serve one on the clerk's office. I wanted to serve one on the code enforcement, and it was just questions and FOIAs and things like that regarding what has happened in the issues that I'd had with the city. And I had one to the city manager, and as well as one. I think it was 3 that I went in. Well, I went in, and I just happened to walk in when the city manager was walking down the hall. I didn't have to go to his. He was upstairs. I said, well, I won't even have to go upstairs and bang on his door. And he was carrying some papers or something in his some book or something, kind of holding it in front of me. And so I know you can't touch a person's body. They can get you for that. That's simple assault. You're not supposed to touch a person. People are getting touchy anymore. And so I took the correspondence out of my wallet or out of my back pocket, and I laid it up on top of his book, that whatever he had there, some papers, and he went like this, and it dropped on the floor. Well, I know, I've process served enough. That's his problem. And he went on into the clerk's office. Now, we're in a hall now, and by the way, there's a camera right there that would have caught everything that went on in the hall. I'll come back to that in a minute. And I picked it up and put it up on that little counter where you could see through there from the outside. Didn't go in the office. No. I went on down to talk to the city treasurer for a minute. I had something to address her with. And he looked through that window thing and said, Mr. Reisner, leave the building or I'll have you arrested. Really? He will have me arrested. So I left there, and I had some business upstairs. I went up to the 3rd floor to go to code enforcement to deliver my other letter, and I had one for the clerk too. But he was in the clerk's office. I didn't want to deliver that letter to the clerk with him being in there. I was waiting for he leaves. I went upstairs and come back downstairs when I got done delivering my correspondence, and I walked down I didn't come down the elevator. I came down the stairwell. Well, I opened the door like this, and here sits this officer. And here he is, and he said something to the effect, that's him. And the officer grabbed me by the arm here, and he started shoving me across the lobby, out of the building. He keeps saying, out of the building, out of the building, out of the building. So I finally told him, we were about 40, 50 feet away from the door. I said, take your hands off me. Don't you touch me. You have a right to tell him he has to give you a reason for it. And he says, out of the building, keep out of the building, out of the building, out of the building. So I finally got over by the door, and I said, I need your name. And I saw his name there, and I said, I need your badge number. And I said, I'm going to be talking to your supervisor, chief of police. That's all right, I'll leave. And before I did that, though, I said to him, am I being detained? Because he had his hands on me. He said, no. I said, then I'm free to go. He says, yeah. So I got ready to go take this letter over to the clerk, which is over this way. And this manager sat standing way over, probably 30 feet away from me. I wasn't even heading his way. I got ready to go to see the clerk, and he grabs me again, pushes me out of the building, out of the building, out of the building. So I finally left, and I come back about an hour later. And by the way, I did go back and gave the clerk the correspondence that I did. Well, we ordered the incident report, and you would not believe it. You'd have to, if somebody wants to contact me, you need to see this. This manager had enough nerve to say that I was trying to put something in his pocket. Trying to put something in his pocket. Couldn't describe what it was, but I was trying to put something in his pocket. And then the officer said that he requested that I leave the building. Well, if that's the way you're going to request people, I'd hate to see you. It was a manhandling is what it was. We got it on video. Said he requested and said, then Mr. Reisner, when I turned him loose, Mr. Reisner was going back to argue with the city manager. You know what they need? They need him in special forces. He can read minds. I wouldn't even know. I was going over to see the clerk office. Not only that, if I was free to go, I was free to go anywhere in the building. Business hours. Now, there's areas in that building you cannot go. You're restricted to the hallways and the counters and things like that. And you're not supposed to be in their office space unless you can get invited in. Before it's all said and done, I tried to get the prosecutor. I'm going to make this quick. I said, he finally called me back when I made my complaint about, he said, well, Mr. Reisner, he said, sounds to me like you want me to prosecute you. I said, I do. Oh, I'm not going to do that. What do you mean you ain't going to do it? Was I an unruly person? Well, we don't do stuff. I said, well, then he said that I did something I didn't do. I said, well, told that to a police officer. Isn't that against the law? Well, he said, he just kind of brushed it off. And so now I'm made look like I'm some kind of a criminal because you know what it is? It was a criminal offense. Disorderly conduct. And yet it didn't go to court. And I couldn't get the prosecutor. I said, well, listen, you either prosecute me or you're going to prosecute him. I'm not going to prosecute nobody. Well, isn't that interesting? So this is what you got when you deal with people. Well, anyway, make the story as short as I can. City attorney got a hold of me, because I was ready to go to federal court on it. He says, Mr. Reisner said, what we are willing to do is we're willing to take and do an addendum that you can tell your little side of the story. And said, we'll put it in the police file. Now, you know where that file is going to be. It's going to be in the basement somewhere or with some cabinet locked up. It won't see the light of day. My side of the story. Not only that, let me just throw this in the last 2 minutes. When a police officer rolls up on two guys in a fist fight in the street, don't they usually separate them and then get the story from this fella and get the story from... Oh, the city manager, they only got one side. They didn't even get that officer never said to me, Mr. Reisner, what's going on here? You know what that is? That is called biased, political, because he was, quote unquote, the city manager. Everything that come out of his mouth was gospel to that police officer. Now, that's bad police procedure. They need to be better trained. They need to be better trained when they deal with people. Just because he was the city manager, everything he said was true blue. Well, if it's so true blue, why don't he prosecute? Wouldn't you want somebody that's violating the law to face justice? But see, this is how they do it. They get you all upset, and then they don't bring no charges. But you got a record you got a police record. And then you got to go to federal court and fight them. And let me just throw this in. They got a certain amount of immunity. Oh, sue me. So that's the way they set this up. I'll get back with another one a little bit later on. Thank you.